name is August Spallo, and I'm the owner-operator of Ciao Ice Creamery and Bakery. That's a food truck that sells made from scratch ice cream sandwiches. And I just finished up my second year in the food truck business.
Awesome. How did you get to where you are now?
Well, I'm an old guy. I'm 65 years old, and I spent 41 years in education. So I was a teacher and a coach and a principal and a superintendent. Had no experience in the food industry at all. But I knew that when I decided to retire from education, that I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to do something I'd never done before that was going to be difficult for me to do it. So I spent about 6 or 7 years researching the business. I always loved to cook, and I love food. So with a lot of research and a lot of help from a lot of people already in the food truck business, I decided to go out, look for a truck, decide on the menu and all the 1,000 things that go into the startup of any business.
Where would you like to be in the future?
I'm really happy doing the food truck. I've had a couple of people approach me about franchising it. I'm not interested in doing that. I really don't want to get into the brick and mortar part of the business, because I think you really limit yourself, and a bad decision about your location is a killer. And so I'm very happy being able to, drive out to Olathe, drive out to Blue Springs, drive to St. Joe, and be able to work my business that way.
Thinking about your daily work, what is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, golly. I love the interaction at the window. I love to see the reactions of people once they taste our product, and it's like they've never tasted homemade cookies or homemade ice cream before. And so I think that's my favorite part of it. Just the interaction of people asking me, why we're doing this, where we're going to be. We do a lot of weddings and parties based off of going to neighborhoods or going to farmers markets, and people taste our product, and then they want to have us at one of their celebrations, and that's always very gratifying.
Is there any part that you don't like as much?
I love preparing the food. I don't know that I love doing all the book work. So if I had to pick one thing, it would probably be all the paperwork. But that's an important part, because, you've got to see what is selling, what isn't selling, how much are you making, how much is everything costing. There are a lot of hidden costs to the food industry that not a lot of people know about before getting into it. And so you've got to be prepared for that. And you've got to be willing to spend the time to do that paperwork. And then to piggyback off of that, in this day and age, you've got to be prepared to spend time on social media. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you've got to devote time to make sure your presence is out there, because we have a lot of our customers use social media to find out where we're at. And so if we're negligent in that area, we're not going to be as successful as we could be.
What was the very first job you ever had?
Well, my first job as a professional was as a classroom teacher. That was right after college. My very first job was as a caddy, golf caddy at a country club. Um, I was I was a horrible student, and in grade school and high school, and I was also a horrible worker. I probably quit 30 or 40 jobs before I um, before I started college. So it was very unusual start to my career.
Yeah. Did you learn anything from that?
Oh, absolutely. I have learned a lot from every job. I learned that, specifically, I learned that I needed to rely on myself. I came to realize that my success or my failure was going to be all on me. That if I was successful, it wasn't going to be because somebody, just did me a favor or somebody made sure I was successful. And if I was a failure, it was going to be because of me. And so I think during college, and specifically once I became a teacher, I realized how important a strong work ethic was. I'd always heard people talk about it, but I finally realized what that meant and how that was going to be hand in hand with my success. If I was going to be successful, it wasn't going to be because I didn't work hard enough to be successful.
Explain what your educational path looked like.
Well, I graduated seventh from the bottom of my class in high school. So that just shows you what a numbskull I was. And it was not a small class. There was like 175 people in my class, and I was seventh from the bottom. And something happened the summer of my senior year that kind of opened my eyes. And I went to college. I got straight A's all through college. I went and got my master's, got straight A's all through my master's. And I realized that education, you learned a lot in the classroom, but not a lot that was going to help you out in the real world. What that education was going to do was going to give you a piece of paper, and that piece of paper was like a key. Mm-hmm. So the more pieces of paper you have, the more keys you have, and the more keys you have means the more doors you can open. And so I have three sons, and they all understand what I mean about keys to doors. The more doors you can open, the more choices you have to make. So a high school diploma is going to give you a key, and that's going to open certain doors. And then going to culinary school or going to hairdresser school or getting a welder's certificate or going into the military and getting education that way. Those are all going to be door keys that are going to open doors that are going to give you choices to make. And that's really what I always wanted. I wanted the choice to be able to do whatever it is I wanted to do. And those pieces of paper were going to allow me to do that.
Okay, now what is your definition of success?
Two things. I've always seen myself as a success if, one, I woke up in the morning excited for what the day was going to hold, and two, I considered myself a success if I could look back on what I did that day and say I had a positive impact on somebody. I don't care who it was. I don't care how big or small it was. If I had a positive impact on somebody's life and I woke up every morning excited for that day, that to me is success. Everything else is gonna, the money, the accolades, all of that's going to follow if you're not happy and excited for your day, and if you're not making a positive impact on society. then nothing else really matters.
What can students do now to help them prepare for this?
I think two things. I think researching the area that you want to go into, it doesn't matter what it is, but whatever field you want to go into, talk to people that are already doing it. I have found over the last 40 plus years, people are more than happy to talk to you about what they're doing. Ask them about the good, the bad, the ugly of their jobs, so that you know what you're getting into before you actually do that. I think the more research you can do, the more people you can talk to, the more likely you're going to be successful earlier than you would if you hadn't have talked to anyone. The other advice I would give people is don't be afraid to cut bait and move on. Don't be afraid to say, wow, that was really a mistake. There's no way I should have gone into this or done this. Move on. I mean, I can't tell you the number of mistakes I've made over a 41-year career. And I was always lucky enough to have the attitude of, okay, this wasn't the fit for me. This wasn't the school for me. This wasn't the job for me. Move on. Go do something else. And so I would say, don't be afraid to do that, and make sure you do your research before you decide to get into a career.